All right. We're live. Cool. What's up, everyone? Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. For me, it's not really much of a good afternoon. It's still kind of crappy outside, but I'm not going to let the weather affect me. But we're doing good so far. Obviously, price has been pumping over the last 12 to 24 hours, and we have some stuff to talk about. So I'm excited. Hope you guys are excited as well. If you guys are coming from my community, welcome. If you guys are also coming from David's side, or if you're new to my channel from David's group, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is John, or Johnny Crypto. Whatever you guys can go, you guys can go with either or. I approach things from a little bit of a different perspective than I would say most of the traders here, and I like to kind of bring what I have to the table and kind of show you guys, how I trade and how I view things from a different perspective. So, if you guys aren't familiar with me and my strategy, we go ahead and look at things from an ABC perspective. Now, this is a modified version of Elliott wave theory. If you guys aren't aware what Elliott wave theory is basically you look at price movements in groups of impulse waves, corrective waves, and variations of each. Make things simpler on my end. All we pretty much do is, instead of looking at things from an impulse wave perspective and a corrective wave perspective, we just simplify the impulse waves into categories of A, B, C. So if I get rid of that, we pretty much look at the same thing. It's just we're looking at the same set of waves. It just ends up being a different from a different viewpoint. So another quick introduction. How we take entries is, if price is, let's do a bearish and a bullish setup. So for the bearish setup, which is the one up here, I'm going to go ahead and mark these out. Highlight this quick. All right, so a bearish and bullish setup. If you guys have any questions regarding anything I talk about here today, any of the TA or any of the, or if you guys want me to look at anything, please let me know in the chat. But I was going to do a quick introduction to the strategy quick. Pretty much what we're looking for is looking at trends in a larger group of three, right? Or a larger trends, or any trends that we identify on our main trading perspective in groups of three. So we're looking for an A wave, a B wave, and a C wave. In the bearish case scenario, we're waiting for the C wave. Once we get a very clear, concise AB, for a C wave to go on and extend past the A. From there, we're going to be shorting every time we get below. And then for the bullish case, it's the same steps, but just the opposite direction. We're looking for a downtrend, a pullback for a B trend, and then a continuation past the A for a C trend. Once price gets back above the A, once it extends past the A wave, or once the C wave extends past the A wave, we're going to go ahead and buy a long position and go long, and then vice versa for the shorts. And once we get back below, once we get back below, we're going to re-enter, try to and push, look for the reversal or the continuation of the larger trend, depending on what perspective we're looking at, and depending on exactly what time frame, what part of price action we're looking at. So now let's see. Coyote, good to see you, my friend. See Joe, I just saw a Discord message. Happy Monday, boys. Gotta go grab a beer. Wow, 2 days. Absolutely, Joe. Absolutely. We got a lot to talk about. I figured, I know I don't usually stream on my channel, so I figured, if you guys are coming from my group, go ahead and stop on in. If you guys want to see a little bit more up-to-date perspective of what I'm thinking from yesterday. If you don't want to wait till tomorrow, I figured you guys can hop in here and definitely ask some questions, or just say hello and hang out for a little bit. So I do appreciate it. So first things first, we're just going to start off with the more relative time frame, because it's something that I'm going to be focusing on at the moment. This is something that's important to me, or at least important to what we could be looking at as a group, and what the possible scenarios of what could be playing out in the future. Let's see. The regret of not taking long hedges is, yeah, I agree, Coyote. Unfortunately, we did grab some hedge longs. The ETH position that I mentioned was kind of very last minute. I got it out to you guys. I'm not sure if you guys were able to get into those, but the XRP position we went over. I'll go over that here shortly. I'll go over the positions I'm in and kind of give you my perspective on how, unfortunately we did not get in on these trades here because we didn't have a large enough setups to go with. But at the same time, we also were going with the looking for another opportunity on other coins, but that's something we'll touch on here later. So first things first, I want to just go over the more relative perspective just because of how insane price is pumping me right now. We do have a larger A to a B to a C. All right. And then within that C, we have an ABC. All right. And for the longest time, we were below. Oh, that's not the one I wanted to delete. Let's see. So we had that one I wanted to delete. I didn't want to delete. Sorry. We had that bearish ABC. Once we identify the point of the A, we had an extension past the A to complete the C wave. And as long as price is below it, as you can see, we're kind of fighting in that region now. And as long as we're below that pivot, we are bearish. And as you can see, like I said before, we are testing it. And we'll talk about what possibly could be going on. If that is the case, and if I want to kind of break this into much larger sets of trends, when I look at this from a 2-hour perspective, all right, the most important thing is is understanding that what the options are, right? Regardless of if we're looking at the macro or the more relative time frame or the more relative perspective. Now, one of the things that we could be looking at is a possible A, right, to a B, to extension of the C. To be honest, this is a possible scenario, but I am not the biggest fan of this. The only reason why is because we have to understand what could be going on from a much larger macro perspective. If I zoom out to an 8-hour, which I want to touch on here shortly, but before I do that, if I look at this setup on a larger time frame, yes, absolutely could be a plausibility of what could be going on. In my opinion, I probably will end up taking this short anyway. But if you ask me from my personal perspective, and something we'll take a look at here shortly, from the macro view, there's different opportunities, there's different options of what could be going on. From there, based on that, we have a couple different options. We could come up and kind of hang around this region, form a much larger, like I don't normally do this, but if I'm going to paint this for those who might not be too familiar with a ABC perspective, we could be getting some sort of head and shoulders. Definitely possible. Get a retest of the entry before confirming more downside. I'm not sure exactly if that's going to play out, but it's definitely an opportunity that we definitely could go ahead and look forward to. That's the reason why I haven't given up on my shorts. I'm still holding them, as well as, I'll go over the long plays as well. But I think until, even if we come up and break the most recent high, I honestly think we're still possibly bearish. The only point where I will not be bearish anymore is if we get a much larger significant break and continue to push the upside, right? And then that'll go into the more macro idea, the more macro perspective that I might be looking at. So from there, understanding that, we're going to keep those bearish pivots in mind. If I'm most likely going to get stopped out, I probably will try one more time up here, but if we just keep going, we'll just let it ride. All right. We're not in any longs. If you guys, unfortunately, within this small bit of price action here, even if I look at this from a 1 hour, you could kind of break this down into an A to a B to a C. I'm not the biggest fan of this. Because to me, on a much larger perspective compared to what's going on here, it just looks like one continuous trend. Just because it's one continuous trend, doesn't mean that we have to necessarily put in a larger setup. Ideally, that's what happens most of the time. But there are situations like this to where we get one tap and then we're done. But we're not counting that out yet. We kind of have to wait and see what happens. So understanding that, keeping that in mind, until we break this high here, all right, we definitely have we still have a chance to go ahead and let me just make sure. All right. So I want to pop up chat here to make sure I'm all caught up. Okay. We still have the chance of still rejecting, putting in a much larger B wave. I'm not a fan of this, but until we get a break past that higher, this most previous high, this is definitely possible. Now, You got to think of a perspective of what's going to cause the most headache, what's going to cause the most frustration. Yes, I definitely think in combination of two things. One, I think this is going to confuse people. Now, I don't want to get too far into this, but one of the things that I have noticed in the past is that the markets do move in a direction that we like to see, but sometimes it might not exactly move exactly how we want it to go there or how it wants to get there. Or we might not be too clear on the exact steps of how it can get to that point. All right. This is something I want to iterate just in case that, you know what, maybe this is in for a much more massive swing in price action. Like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of this. Once we get to the macro, you guys will understand where I'm coming from. But I just want to point that out as a important scenario of what's going on in the near future. Keep an eye on these two pivots. If we break this one, I will take a short. If we break back above and come back below the previous high, if that is the case and we do not get any more, if we fail to reject from that high, once you put in the larger C wave, I will let price run. Okay. I want to look at things from a larger macro perspective and give you guys my opinion of what's going on, just in case that we do see, we could be seeing more upside. Now, when I look at things from a macro perspective, all right, I'm looking at things from like an 8-hour time frame. For me, 8 hours kind of the sweet spot. Really depends on the size of your monitor. Oh, geez. Let's see. I'm just going to catch up on chat real quick. I took the ETH one. Just my LTC short is doing okay, but BTC got wrecked. Okay. Okay. For some reason, a bunch of chats just came in at once. So to make sure I didn't miss any questions. Okay, cool. All right. So from a much larger time frame, much larger perspective, much more macro perspective. I'm sorry. I don't know why. A bunch of those M's macro, much more. It's all a little bit of a tongue twister for me. But we look at things from a much larger perspective. We have a much pretty clear larger ABC here. Now, the question is this ABC the bottom or is this the beginning of something? Now, I can give you guys both answers here. If this is going to be the bottom, all right, we put in an ABC within the C wave, which is something I like to see on how um, setups or waves or ABCs do play out on a much more clear perspective. What I mean by that is I can go back in each one of these sets of subwaves here and identify its own ABC. Right. This is what I love to see. Right. This to me, this is a textbook example of a very clear, concise ABC. Now, if we are done here, we're going to be probably working on a much larger, some sort of A to a B to a C. All right. If that is the case, we probably could easily come down here, top out, and put in one more high, put in a larger pullback, continuation higher. All right. Definitely possible. Oh, sorry. It would actually be, it would look like this: higher high, continuation, extension. Right. That's definitely a possibility. Or another possibility is that we could possibly go ahead and just keep running up. Maybe we're in some sort of A to a B, and maybe the C wave gets overextended. We look for a little bit more higher price action. Maybe at some point try to catch an ABC within the C, catch the pullback. I can go on in the nuances of explaining every single little detail, but we're not necessarily there yet. I just want to let you guys know that if this is going to be the bottom, I think we're due for a much larger swing to the upside, and maybe that dump we had was just a pullback. The other perspective which I want to give here, which me personally is my favorite out of all the options we're going to be discussing here today, is we're looking at this ABC as a possible A. Now, depending on where this goes, we can either top out if we put in one more high. Me personally, I think we need a larger swing to the upside and to push a little bit further into these areas of previous supports resistances and kind of test where it wants to go ahead and possibly top out. But at the end of the day, regardless if we top out here or if we put in a higher high, I want to see a much larger possible ABC play out like this. Now, if price is going to go to that sub 10K region that everyone's talking about, I personally believe that we're probably going to go ahead and do something like this. This is what I would like to see. Now, if that is the case, I think we're going to come up and we're probably going to test somewhere in this region here. anywhere from, I would say it's a little bit, I know it's a large range, but I want to say anywhere from like the low 30K to low 40K. That's what I would like to see as a possible retesting zone before going ahead and moving down lower. Um, this would take us into the later part of 2023 into 2024. And I definitely think if things are as bearish as people are going to say or people think, I honestly don't think we're just going to go straight down. I think we're going to take our time, build a little bit of hope, and then where we get to higher price points, definitely go ahead and convince people that maybe we're in for another bull run. That's when I think price will go ahead and put a much larger reversal. Um, as you guys can see, perfect example going into the weekend. We had news about banks shutting down here in the US, Silicon Valley banks with, that was um, funding venture capital. I can't think of exactly what type of businesses. I looked a little bit more into it, but they're funding businesses in the West Coast. A lot of startup businesses, and you can see I think they went bankrupt, or I think they're filing for bankruptcy. I could be wrong, don't quote me on that too much, but I know there's a lot of issues in the banking system right now. That's definitely gonna get people scared. That's the time, of course, when price starts pumping. Um, and it's gonna be the opposite on a much larger scale. Once people see that, hey, you know what, maybe this wasn't as serious as we thought, people might get a little bit more excited, might ignore stuff like this, let price pump up, and eventually, good news is gonna hit, or something, good's gonna happen in the news cycle, but definitely that's the point where we're definitely going to look to be a little bit more bearish, and definitely that's where big money was going to go ahead and try to take money from everyone else. That's basically what um, that's basically how the market makers are able to move price in significant directions, is by tricking people into being hopeful in selling, or tricking people to being fearful in buying, and then making people miss out as much as they can. Tech startups. Yep. For some reason, Coyote, I couldn't figure that out. Age 44. How you doing, my friend? Good to see you. 65 million liquidation shorts. Yep. Absolutely. The bank bailout is the reason BTC was created. Yep. I definitely agree, Joe. They had too many long-term bonds on the books. Yes, Coyote. Yes. See, I did a little bit of research, but I'm not too familiar with the actual situation itself. But all I know is when things are bearish, or when things look bearish, that's when markets like to pump, vice versa. This is something I did keep in mind. I would have wanted to see a little bit more of a development within the B wave, but unfortunately, we did not get that. But on the much larger perspective on BTC, I want to just let you guys know that this is something that I'm most likely considering, is that maybe we're not done pumping. I think we're probably going to go ahead and put it higher. I'm definitely going to take shorts when necessary, but if we get pumped past those pivots, which I mentioned before, we're definitely going to be going ahead and just waiting to see until price gives us a new opportunity. Um, so that's pretty much it for BTC, guys. Like I said, I'm in my shorts still. I haven't gotten stopped out. I'm in no long positions. But let's go ahead over to Ethereum and talk about that as well. So same thing. I'm going to start actually on the macro perspective first, and we're going to work our way in. Opposite to what I did for BTC. Let's make sure I'm all caught up on chat. It's the consolidation year, like 2019, 2015. Definitely Vidarius. I agree as well. I definitely agree to that. Let's see. I'm all caught up here. I just can't believe Price didn't give us an ABC long setup. Is that common? That does happen. Joe, to be honest, it's not that common. Usually we get these we get some sort of larger setup. There are situations to where we can just go straight down, put in some sort of consolidation, very small consolidation, without giving us an ABC, and shoot straight up. In hindsight, should we not have closed the long from the bottom, as now we don't have a continuation longs on the board? I don't necessarily think of it that way, Coyote. The way I see it is, if price did not give us, so obviously if you guys were here from, I would say, when was this? Beginning of the month. We held the long from 15.5K. We took profit at this region here. I want to go ahead and just We took profit of this region here. All right. Now, one thing I will say is, we could have. If I look at this from a 2-hour, yeah, it just in hindsight, you just don't know. You just don't know these things. Unfortunately, we did get stopped out of this long position down here, kind of came back down, grabbed the liquidity, and came back up. It's not always a perfect case scenario. This is why I like to look for long positions on other coins just in case something like this happens. Um, did I know that we're going to pump like this? No, but I went over to XRP. I went over to Ethereum to look for a long position just in case that, what if we keep pumping? It's unfortunate that we didn't catch a continuation bet on set up on BTC. But I think because of how this played out, it definitely confused a lot of people. But I don't think I regret taking that continuation setup here. It's just unfortunate how it played out. Like I said, me personally, it doesn't always happen like it doesn't necessarily happen like this all the time. We usually get some sort of larger ABC on larger time frames. That's a larger ABC bullish setup. Well, it's not the best example because we're in a bear market, but there are situations to where we caught very large separations in trend. In this case, it just wasn't the case for now. Like I say, we can keep dumping from here. Or another case scenario, if we consolidate, maybe put in some sort of ABC down here before going up, absolutely, we can go ahead and take that. I don't think we're done. I don't think we're necessarily in the scenario or in the situation yet that price are just, we're just going to forget about us. Even if so, I try my best to try to find other opportunities on coins just in case we do pump to larger. Did XRP not move? Wow, XRP did not move this entire time. All right, I'll go ahead and go over that in a second. But I don't think we're down for the count yet. But in case we are, I took a position on ETH. We'll have to just wait and see. Let's see. Hey, everyone, please tell me USDC is safe compared to other stable coins. The fact that they are transparent and hold short-term bills as reserves. It could have been just fun, Alif. I'm not too sure, to be honest. I know a lot of people hate on Tether. For me, I know Tether might not be the most, how do I say this? Most legitimate coin when it comes to certain things or how they handle their practices. But for me personally, they've been around for over 2 bear markets. It's been shown that they can stick around for a while, even though, yes, they may be a little shady. Doesn't necessarily affect me. Doesn't necessarily affect, um, I guess, the validity of USDT, in my opinion. I personally think that they're not going to be they're not going to be disappearing anytime soon. I could see that I could make the same case for USDC. If anything, USDC is more legitimate than USDT Tether, but I think it's fine. That's just mine. That's just my personal opinion. No stable coin is fully safe. Spread out the risk is the best bet. I definitely agree, Coyote. I definitely think that I try not to keep all my coins or all my reserves in crypto in USDT. I spread them out. I have some USDC too. It's something I'm not really too concerned with, but if you're really scared, don't be afraid to kind of branch out into other ones just in case that something does collapse. I don't think all of them are going to collapse. Um, yeah, that's just my personal opinion. So going back to Ethereum at the moment, we do have a little bit more of a similar setup. This is playing out a little bit differently compared to BTC. Let's see. Okay. So let's start off on the macro and go in. Macro perspective, kind of the same thing. Go to 8-hour, talk about what the possible scenarios are. So we have an ABC here. All right, I'll go ahead and redraw it. And from there, same question is, are we done or is this the beginning of something? To me personally, we do have the possibility of this being a larger A wave, right? If that is the case, we're either having a B wave here or the B wave could extend to here. Now, let me go over the scenarios of how that can play out. One is that we're going into a larger A to a B to a C. Right? If we continue to pump, the pivot of the macro A is going to be around 2032. That's something I'm keeping an eye on. That's a very important level for me. I want to see ETH hold. From there, if that doesn't hold, if we just keep pumping through, we'll have to wait and see if we get another ABC, some sort of short setup at a higher price point. But for me, 2032 is a key pivot. The other variation is that maybe we just put in a B wave here. We're putting in a larger, how do I say this? Okay. This is a larger A. This is a larger B. And we're working on some sort of maybe larger A, B, C. It still ends up putting in a higher high in 2032. Then maybe we don't go up straight away. Maybe put in a higher high, pull back, and then eventually continue upward. That's definitely a possibility. Let's see. DXY can give us more insight. Definitely, Joe. We'll take a look at the DXY here in a moment. Let's see. 8% reserves at Silvergate, which they got back today. They are quite transparent with the banks. They have reserves in, and they are invested short-term treasury bills. And BlackRock is behind USDC. And it seems that USDC logically would become the US central bank digital currency. Yeah, I definitely agree, Leaf. It definitely, I think there's a lot of legitimacy behind USDC. So I personally, especially if it has long-term backing from different institutions, I would definitely wouldn't be afraid. I wouldn't be scared. That's just me personally, though. So going back to what I was saying before, maybe it's still an AB, but we're putting in some sort of larger ABC here. All right, still giving us a larger C wave. That definitely could play out. It's still the same end result, but just playing out a little bit differently in between the lines. Let's go over a little bit more of the possible bearish case scenarios. One, all right, since price has pumped, it's changed a little bit of how I've been viewing this. We're looking for an A to a B to a C to the downside here. If that is the case, we have an A working on a B, working on a C. All right. If that is the case, we can either put in a larger or a lower low past the A pivot of the A here at around 1076. If that is the case, I would still be looking for a pump to the upside if we reverse. That would still put it in a larger ABC here, showing us that we can still go to 2032. The other option is that perhaps maybe we go down, put in a lower low, right, and we complete a much larger ABC to the downside. There, I would look for a reversal, try to play into the, to me, this would be a much larger bear market reversal, in my opinion. So definitely something to look forward to. Marking the pivot of the previous A at 882, also marking the pivot at 1076. Those are very crucial levels of support if we're looking for more upside, if we do decide to dump. But keeping an eye on that, marking out the important levels, we can go ahead and talk about a little bit more of a zoomed in perspective or the normal perspective that we usually look at. From there, we have an A, B to a C, A, B to a C, A, B to a C. So we have a C wave within a C wave within a C wave. To make this easier, I kind of understand the bigger picture and I just focus on what's more recent in price action. All right. So for me, as long as we're below 1724, we are still bearish. Even though with this pump to the upside, for me, I would need to get a significant break past that pivot. In my opinion, if we're going to break, we're probably going to go ahead and test 2032. But we can easily put in one more higher high and reverse from there. I definitely can acknowledge that as a possibility as well. The previous high would have to go back above is about 1745 or 1743. Let's say we're at the call in the middle. All right. And then from there, we would get a much larger A to a B to a C here. That's if we keep bumping and if we put in a much larger reversal. This would play into the idea that we're going to come down and test 1076 and possibly 872. Or this to play into the idea that this is a much larger A to a B to a C, to where we still come up and test that 2032 region. If that is the case, like I said, we do have the larger ABC here that I'll have to keep my eye on and wait and see how it behaves here. But more than likely, if we reverse, we can go ahead and look for lower or at least a larger pullback. If not, we'll just keep pumping and test 2032. Is it 2032? Or yep, 2032. All right. I think. All right. Let me go over the long position I'm in. So excuse me. I didn't necessarily take this setup on BTC, but for ETH, we did have a much more pronounced A to a B to a C. All right. I took this. I had this set up. I talked about this in my stream yesterday as a possibility. At first, I wasn't going to take it, but then I set it up and eventually it did hit. If you guys were able to get into that, fantastic. I'm sorry if you guys missed out on this. Just because I'm in a long position doesn't mean we're going to keep pumping. I just got to give myself in based off a proper scenario or proper setup, just in case that we do continue to pump to the upside. Let's see. Coyote, no way the U.S. would allow another company to control their central bank digital currency. They might hijack the tech, but I doubt they would adopt it. Yeah, I could see that as well, Coyote. There's definitely it's kind of too close to call, in my opinion. There's definitely a lot of things that go into something like that, but it wouldn't surprise me either way. All right. So yeah, I'm long off of that ABC entry being about 1557. And at this point, we got to let price battle out and see which direction it wants to go. All right. Let's see. I'm all caught up on chat. Cool. All right. So let's move over to LTC. Where's LTC? LTC. All right. So for LTC, there is something I do want to highlight. All right. There is something I do want to highlight. It's not the best setup, but we're going to do the short term first, just because I know some people are in LTC and they want to hear my opinion on this. We do have a possibility. Actually, I didn't want to do that. There you go. We do have a possibility of this becoming a larger A to a B to a C. Actually, no, it would be this. Yes, it would be that wave. ABC and then ABC within the C. If you guys wanted to, all right, I know it's above the entry of the short, but if we keep pumping, if I zoom out at 1 hour, it's not the best, but this is a clear separation in trend, much more clear than this one. So I would group this as the C wave, the ABC within the C. So for me personally, I would go ahead and possibly look into taking that 89 entry if we continue to pump. Definitely wouldn't be a bad idea just in case we do. I know LTC does move a little bit more differently than BTC and LTC in Ethereum. Sometimes we can get much more aggressive uptrends. So for me, I would possibly consider this. But one thing to keep in mind, guys, we are still below the macro pivot of this short setup here. All right, and this is into a larger A, B to a C. So as long as we're below 85.50, we are still technically bearish. If we keep pumping through and get above 89.89, I would definitely consider a possible long position there. That's just my opinion. Trying to think of a larger count. Well, let me go to a larger perspective here. Let me clear this off the table. All right. I would see this as A, B, C, A, B. Maybe this is an A to a B. How does the separation in this trend look compared to this one? Sorry, guys, I'm just doing this in real time. just to compare. Okay. We could be looking at this to based on how I'm seeing this, based on the separations and trend. To me personally, I would view this as a this is too close to call. A B. I would say this is an A to a B to a C with an ABC here. That would be my that would be my perspective on this. The other way you can possibly view this is my second favorite, is that this entire thing is one A to a B, but it's still the end result. If we continue higher, fantastic. But if we put in a higher high past the previous high and then reverse, that would also count for me much larger potential reversal. Let me go ahead and just mark that out on my. I'm not sure if I'm going to be taking. I'll probably attempt it once, but we'll have to see if we can get that push to the upside. Let's see. Yes, I was looking at that same LTC long. It's less risky as I shorted the very tippy top. Oh yeah, if that's the case, Coyote, yeah, I would definitely attempt that as a hedge just in case that we do keep pumping. But you could get something like this. Um, you can get something like this to happen. On a 2 hour, that's clear as day. On a 4 hour, that's clear as day. So that wouldn't surprise me one bit if we put in maybe one more relief rally before reversing. Just an idea. So I want to go over XRP just because I'm in a position. I want to show you guys what I'm thinking. All right. And then if you guys want to pick one more coin, whether you're in the Discord here with me or in the YouTube/Twitch chat, let me know if you want me to look at a particular coin. I'm looking at XRP. All right. So for me, XRP looks like we're in some sort of ABC formation here. I'm going to erase this for now and focus on the B wave. Within the B wave, we notice an ABC here. The macro pivot, or sorry, not the macro pivot, the larger pivot of that ABC, the entry is going to be just at about 36.19. My entry was 36.10. Right? Give you a more accurate answer. My entry was 36.10. So as long as we're below that 36.09 region, we do have a completed setup. We have an ABC within the B. And it looks something like this. I'd be looking for a much larger push to the upside. Now, we have one opposing position in the way. That's when we cross up to the previous top. All right. And if we get a reclaim back below, definitely a bearish sign, in my opinion. Something like this. Definitely a bearish sign. But we're not there yet. Kind of have to wait and see what happens if we do continue to pump up. But to me personally, that's a very nice ABC. It's a little bit scattered in the smaller subwaves, but that's a clear ABC to me. And I'm definitely long as we're above 36.09. So let's see. All right. Does anybody else want me to look at anything? Anybody have any suggestions? I just wanted to highlight that because that's what I'm currently in at the moment. I'm trading XRP. I'll give you guys a second. If you guys want to, I'm gonna take a sip of water while. Guys, let me pick a coin. Any coin. Joe says Matic. We can definitely do Matic. Do Mid Arius in Discord says do BMW for Vlad. Don't worry, when we switch over to traditional markets, I'll definitely I can't forget about Vlad. It is BMW. All right, so Matic on a much larger perspective time frame. I can go out to an 8 hour. This is a clear as day ABC. All right, as long as we're below that pivot, we should be bearish. You should be bearish on Matic. Let's look at, I mean, I really don't see any other option. If I go maybe to a 2-hour, if we get in a low, if we put in one more lower low, because to me, this is a clear separation in trend. If we get one more lower low, I'll definitely go ahead and hedge myself, or I would consider a hedge trade and then look for the reclaim. And if we do continue to go up, you guys have to prioritize the macro. The macro is important, but doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to hold. So I will definitely go with that just in case we do decide to just bottom out here and just continue the upside. I'll mark that pivot out for you guys, so just keep that in mind. About 94.42. Yeah, about 90, basically the previous low of where we just pumped from. So if we can get a cross back below and then reclaim, get it back above that region, we can definitely go ahead and consider a long position to at least come up and put in a higher high. See, Manny Boy, thanks, Johnny. I'll be going past 1 a.m. here. Bye, guys. Thank you so much for stopping by, Manny Boy. If you want to watch the rest of this, it's going to be pre-recorded on David Tech's live channel. So definitely go ahead and check that out if you want to watch the rest of this. But thank you so much for stopping by. Let's see. BNB put in a nice long ABC. It even has bullish news on it. Yeah, I'll take a look at that very quick as well. So that's pretty much it for Matic at the moment. It's either you're short from up here, which I unfortunately did not take. I took the first try, but I just didn't try it again. Or if we come back down, put in another lower low, you could take a hedge trade and potentially catch a reversal from there. Let's take a look at BNB real quick as well, and we'll go ahead and move to traditional markets. Oh, interesting. Okay. All right. So for BNB, we do have a much larger ABC here as a possibility. We have that bullish entry there. We also have a bearish entry here just in case we do put in that reversal. You know, this is on a 4-hour time frame. This is clear as day to me. I'll mark the pivots out because those are important. And this is going to be playing off of a larger, most likely it's going to be some sort of A to a B to a C. Something like that. And I'm going to keep my eye on overhead resistance just in case this is a much larger reversal. But more than likely, we're going to come up at least test 338. If we continue to pump, the next pivot is going to be 398. That's going to be a fantastic long position if you guys got in from down there. But definitely a good call. Thank you so much, Coyote. All right, let's take a look at traditional markets. I was going to take a look at, the usual, the SPY, Dow Jones, DXY, metals. But let's go ahead and get started with the SPY first. So, I'm going to start off on a fresh chart here. Coming off of the previous bull market high, we have an A, B to a C, which will be the A, larger B to a larger C. Long as we're above 360, 362. It's definitely going to be a bullish pivot on the macro scale, as you did put in that larger ABC. Now, if I go to a 2-hour and focus on what's going on past that low, to me, this looks like a larger ABC. Well, it is larger ABC. We have that pivot there. Right. As long as we're below 410.57, definitely a pivot to go ahead and I'm sorry, I can't think at the moment. Go ahead and be short below. I don't know why that didn't cross my mind first or faster. From there, we do have a possible bullish case scenario to where I'm not the biggest fan of this, but we do have a larger ABC here. If we can maintain above that pivot around 392.45, I definitely would go ahead and consider that to be part of a much larger A to a B to a C. And then maybe we just continue higher. But if we do put in this option, I do have to consider a much larger pivot, right? And we can go up to that 418, 419 and put in a reversal there. But we'll have to wait and see. We're currently below that bullish pivot, so technically we still have more room to the downside. The other case scenario is that maybe that ABC, which I mentioned before, is part of a larger A. This is a part of a larger B. We're coming down and putting in a larger C. All right. And if that is the case, we need to get back below 349.05, 05, and then we can go ahead and if we can reclaim that level again, we definitely look to be a little bit more bullish. So something like this, put in a lower low. All right, something like that. All right. So those are the two main scenarios at the moment. I'm going to mark the previous high or the most recent high, and then I'll mark the most recent low. So now we can kind of go off of what the possibilities are. I'll also go ahead and mark the bullish position here, the bullish pivot here, just in case. All right. Okay, so let's go over the DXY. Actually, I'll make a quick pitch stop at the Dow Jones. It's almost the exact same thing. It's just playing out a little bit differently. We have a bullish pivot at around 32,574 with an ABC here. So if we can get back above that, this is going to look like a much larger ABC here. Most likely going to go up and retest the previous high. Just my opinion. Just because we're so close together, it doesn't mean we can't do it. This is where I think we could personally go up to. So that's pretty much it. I don't really see any other bearish scenarios at the moment. Yeah, because you did not get a higher high past that B wave. All right. Let's do the DXY. All right, DXY is looking interesting, folks. So the only reason why is because if I look at this from a larger perspective, right, we got to zoom out first. To me, this looks like one larger A or one larger B. We're more than likely at the moment right now probably going to put in a much larger C, right? Obviously, that's bullish for assets in general, BTC included. So if we are going to put in a lower low for the DXY, I'm going to be looking for, a little bit more more upside just in general for assets. I really don't know exactly if we're going to continue to go in and put in much lower lows on the DXY or if we're just going to put in one quick reversal. But at the moment, it looks like it's making its way down there. If I look at what's going on at the moment, we do have a much larger did we put in a lower low? We did. A, B, C. Right, with an ABC within the C. So right now, the bearish pivot is about that 105.35. Right? And I definitely think we can definitely continue lower if we continue to maintain below that pivot. But those are the two key levels for the DXY at the moment. So guys, take with that information as you will. Let's see. Joe, I heard speculation that the Fed can't raise interest rates anymore or more banks will fail. To be honest, from what I've heard, I don't think the Fed really cares. I could be wrong, but I've heard rumors that the Fed is not going to bail out banks, and then I think the banks are going to start to do things to bail themselves out. If that makes sense, that's what I've been hearing. I could be wrong, Joe, but that's what I've been hearing. All right. So keep those levels in mind. Those are very important. We'll have to wait and see how this develops. As of right now, we're in one larger continuous downtrend for the DXY. If we can get a separation and get a possible bullish setup, I would consider maybe a larger ABC, but we're not there yet. Kind of to wait and see. All right, let's do gold and silver. Oh, look at that. Gold's been popping. All right. All right. So I mentioned this before. I didn't think I was going to, I almost got the exact bottom. But in a much larger time frame. All right. We have a larger ABC at 1677. It looks like gold's going to come up and test that previous high. I really don't see any other scenarios at the moment. If we do come up and test that previous high, we can come back. If we come back below, that's definitely a good point of reversal around 1958. But if we keep pumping, we're probably going to go ahead and test the next high around 2075. Yeah, those are the key levels at the moment. I don't see a bullish setup you can take. We just have to wait and see how price behaves until we get up to that previous high. But very, very good for gold. Let's see how silver's doing. Silver's doing decent as well. How much did it pump off of that bottom? 10%, not bad. All right, so for gold on a larger scale, we have a larger ABC here. Now, this could be a possible larger A, maybe working on a larger B to larger C. If that's a scenario we're going to be working with, I need to see a higher high be put in at 2466. If not, or sorry, if we put in a higher high and fall below, we could be looking at a possible larger ABC scenario. The other case scenario is that maybe we're putting in some sort of larger, maybe we have bottomed here. Maybe putting in some sort of larger A to a B to a C, or we just keep pumping. Again, once we break through that resistance. So definitely could be a large turning point for silver, but for silver, we need to keep an eye on that 2466 region. Let's see. Let's do. I know Vlad's on the edge of his seat. Oh, Vlad, what did I tell you? Vlad.
Let's go.
I told you. If it didn't hold that high. Shorting BM. Did you sell your BMWs yet? No, I'm kidding.
No.
All right. So for BMW, I mentioned this on the previous stream, but it looks like we're going off of a larger possible. Now, there's two different scenarios. This is a little bit more of a stretch, but definitely a possibility. We could be coming down, putting a lower low past the previous low at around 36. That's a little bit of a stretch for me. What I think is probably more likely is that this ABC is 1A. We could come in, put in a larger B, and then continue higher for a C. That's what I think is going to be more likely. But we're most likely probably going to come up at some point and test the high. But as you can see, we put in a rejection at the previous high. We came back below. Doesn't look so good for BMW. That's pretty much it for that. You see, does anyone else want me to look at anything traditional market wise? That was a couple of you in the YouTube chat right now. So if you guys are just hanging out or just tuning in, welcome and thank you. I know Coyote and Joe been chatting back and forth in here. AH44. Who else? Alif. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. A lot of you guys are from my channel. If you guys, Rivian, yeah, we can do Rivian. If you guys want to catch me on here more often, please subscribe to the David Tech Live channel. There's gonna be me and other people doing their TA on this platform. So I'm always thanking David, and I want to thank David and William and Vlad as well for organizing this for me and allowing me to go on here and stream on their platform. So thank you to everyone in David's group. But let's go ahead and check Rivian. Is this it, Joe? If this is it, this is gonna be nice and easy. ABC within an ABC. Macro pivot is above 1930. The smaller ABC is back above 1520. So keep that in mind. If you want to buy some, I probably would wait for the macro pivot, but if you want to sprinkle a little bit of 1520, you can. but the macro pivot is probably the most important one. Okay, cool. Yeah, so that was a quick one. All right. Does anybody else have any questions for me regarding anything I talked about today? ABCs, the TA. Excuse me. Let's see, TA. Maybe BCRX would be good to demonstrate. I'll do one. I'll do BCRX as one more. Most important pivot right now is this one here. I actually have an alert down here, so if we get back below and cross back above, I will go ahead and buy some. But Joe showed me this a while ago. It does decently well respecting ABCs. Definitely some potential. So I'll definitely be looking into this. But that pivot's going to be around 769. We get back below and cross back above. Something like that. Let's see. Hello, guys. How you doing, my friend? Good to see you. Thank you so much for stopping by. Fortunately, we're just catching the tail end of this. We've gone over everything BTC related. So please feel free to go back and rewind, rewatch this if you're interested. I gave you guys the key levels that I'm looking for. Hopefully we can get some sort of move. We're probably, like I said, we're probably going to keep pumping to the upside. I'm in my long positions on ETH and XRP at the moment. We do have some bearish pivots in the way. But yeah, I will do that. Thank you so much. I appreciate you taking interest.
Okay. Since there are no more questions, I would like to thank you, Johnny, for your analysis.
Thank you again, Vlad. Thank you for having me.
Don't forget to share also your channel's link.
Oh yeah. If you guys are interested, the links, if you guys are watching on the YouTube end, my channel is linked in the description below. But I'll go ahead and flash it here. As are interested, I am going to be live streaming tomorrow, talking about new possible scenarios, or let's see how price develops in the next 24 hours. Definitely go ahead and check out the channel here. Oh wait, you guys might be able to see it. There you go. So you guys want to check out the channel, I do really would appreciate it. Like I said, we live stream 3 times a week. So Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. I'm here once a week on David Tech's group. We go over everything in one shot, which I really do like. I do like kind of looking at everything at once. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, if you guys are in David Tech's group in the Discord, you want to learn more from me, I post my setups in the actual Discord itself. You go under the where is it? The trading strategy setups. It's called Johnny Setups. I have my own channel in there. You guys feel free to ask any questions. I also give updates on some of the setups that I take, as well as my own Discord. If you guys are interested, pop into the live stream. All links are going to be in the description. But yeah, I'd love to learn more. Thanks, Johnny. But Arius, I think you know everything. You know everything when it comes to ABCs now. You're a pro. I am still holding your XRP long. Good. Yeah, that was a good trade. So definitely hold on to that. Thanks for all the info, Johnny. Thank you so much, Joe. I really do appreciate it. But yeah, guys, feel free to check the channel out. I would appreciate it if you guys like the content. Subscribe. But just come by live streams. I'll be there tomorrow. Say hi. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'd love to show you guys more about ABC. So, thank you again, Vlad. Thank you, David. Thank you, William. Thank you for everyone in the David Tech community for hosting me here today. Like I said, I'll be here once a week every Monday. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the next one. I really do appreciate it. Thanks again, folks.
Thank you, everybody. Bye bye. See you on the next one.